No.
We do. So for 17 Battery Place, we have Alexandra Kuber and Myra Perez with us. I'm going to move them up as panelists so they can speak.
Okay.
A moment. Let's see. Okay.
And I can't ask Roger to write the resolution because he's no longer going to.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
And I don't see Jason.
Retirement's a beautiful thing.
I can see myself. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Kuber.
How do you spell your last name?
Yeah, I'm German. In Germany, you would say Suber, but here you say Kuber in the US.
Yes, but how do you spell it? I do speak German. How do you spell your last name?
Cuber.
Thank
Kuber.
you. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you for having me here. I'm going to share the presentation for 17 Battery Place. 1 second. Let me just go back. So as I mentioned before, I'm Alexandra Kuber. I'm a director at Vogelfinger. And I'm going to present to you a proposal for the removal and replacement of the existing ground floor storefront at 17 Battery Place. It's the Whitehall building down at Battery Park. It's a beautiful location overlooking the Battery Park. It has a prominent vista. It is also has a beautiful history. I read through this. It was it was built in 1902 to 1904. I'm just going to jump into the historical photos. This beautiful Whitehall building here was built in 1902, 1904. And it's a speculative office building, was a huge success. And the owner decided to build that extension, this one, a 31-story extension, 6 years later, from 1908 to 1910. And it was, as said, a successful building at that time at completion, the highest building, Neo-Renaissance style, and housed a lot of offices. Back then was a shipping companies, and right now it's a home for a lot of DMV agency offices. So just a little bit of a background story. But our storefront is located in this area here, in these two windows. You can see it in 1903, just right before the completion. It's here, and then it's also here, which we have enlarged a little bit, so you can actually see the beautiful details of the facade, the beautiful limestone, the little intricate details here, the millions, the color of it, and all of like more or less how it was in 1928.
Just for clarification, this building, I know it well, and it's on at least 3 sides. So are we talking about where that rectangle is? Is that on Battery Place?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it's actually facing this big plaza. I'm gonna show you a little bit now in context of the city. Now you will recognize it better. So here's the bird's eye view. And this is like the photos I'm going to show. I'm going to walk you slowly. And if you need some explanation, I'm happy to stop and explain a bit further. So the first one shows photo shows the building from Battery Park, and it has a little plaza in front. So it's a really beautiful place because you have all this light and air in front and the view of the water. It's really stunning. So here, this is the area we're going to look at a bit closer. This is a little zoom in of this area from the plaza, approaching from Battery Park, and then just full frontal, the stair going up to the entry, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So once you get up on the stair, you will see that the whole storefront has been set back. So this has been done a long time ago, but before the client even bought that. So the whole storefront has been set back, and there is this path connecting this one entry to the commercial side with an entry over there to the residential side. So it's kind of the storefront right now is sitting in the shadow of the facade, which I think is not a bad thing because the facade is so beautiful and we don't want to really do anything to it. We want to maintain the historic beauty of this, no distraction of the building, and no removal of any kind of historic fabric.
Excuse me, so the setback looks like it's roughly 1960s. Do you know if this was part of the old arcade zoning matter, which allowed for arcades, or was this just a coincidence?
No, it's not a coincidence, but better talk.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I just give you a little bit of a background. I'm trying to find a little bit. Pardon?
What was space for the public?
Pardon? I'm sorry.
Was it a space for the public?
This year probably. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, not to think it was.
Yeah. So this is just seeing the setback and the path here. Then this is just the revolving door, which we just saw before, full frontal, and this is just a view down the path from the residential little opening here. So you can see here this view again of the whole facade. This you can see is kind of in the shadow of the facade because it's recessed back. And you can see we are not doing anything to the facade, nothing to the windows above on the second floor. The only area, the only scope of area is really to remove this storefront here in the back and clean it up a little bit. You can see here in many ways it's like a little hodgepodge, so a big beam intersecting the view of this beautiful kind of opening. Then it steps down, and it's just all a little bit just like a dark brass finish, and this is a stainless steel. So it feels like there's a lot of eclecticism happening, and we really want to try to clean this up and really give back to the historic facade rather than really call attention to it. So as I said before, all of this is the residential area. This is not in scope. We are only focusing on these two here. That's what the client, the morning group, the morning group is the client right now. He's a really good steward of the building, and as it is traffic with so many people because of the DMV, he really want to make it more beautiful and really give back to the kind of this building, which seems a little bit kind of dissected here and many kind of innovations leftovers. So that gets me to what we really want to do here. We really want to, we looked at what it was before. So these windows here on the second floor give us a little bit of a hint of what finishes the frames were originally. So it's more this dark bronze, bronze aluminum frames here and here. So we really want to tie it back to that. And also, as you saw in the historic photos, there was a very kind of symmetrical millions here previously. As it is all recessed back, we really want to keep it modern and clean and not call much attention or take away from any historic elements from the facade, but we want to kind of honor what was there before. So we are suggesting to keep this very simple. It's like a anodized dark bronze aluminum stick system, and following the kind of rhythm the older windows had, and also the kind of proportions, and also matching that finish which we have on the top.
Susan, I'm sorry I have to interrupt. Are you leaving the recess, the arcade?
Yes.
It's a big deal. Okay.
No, Bruce, you're right. I should have mentioned that. I think another reason why we have to keep it here in the here on the left corner, there is an ADA elevator.
Okay.
So this kind of pathway also has a very functional connection, because a wheelchair person can take the ADA elevator and connect to this door through this pathway. So we don't want to pull it forward. We want to keep it back, but
Great.
Clean it up a little bit, because it's a little bit hodgepodge. So also
so you're not removing or encompassing any space in that what I'm calling arcade that you showed us before.
No, we're not removing anything there.
Great, thank you.
So we're really trying to just bring a little bit back what was taken away. So also the finishes up here, we're going to fill in the finishes which we have in the plaza, which is a jet mist. We're not doing nothing on the beautiful limestone. These are the existing frame finishes which we are going to match with metal anodized dark bronze. And this is just a view of the hallway. It's really cleaned up. We took out a lot of the stuff which was creating a little bit of a disconnection of the facade, also cleaning up the wall, the ceiling here, and making this really a much more attractive kind of passage.
What about signage?
Pardon?
What about signage?
Signage. I think the signage is just the let me quickly go back. There is no signage right now. It's just a 70 battery place, and they have a signage outside here.
And that's how it's going to be.
Yes.
And what about any additional lighting or new lighting?
We planning just to replace these ceiling with recessed lighting, just to create a bit better lighting, but nothing prominent. Just a
And
little.
the banisters and rails, are they new?
This is all going to stay this way. We're not touching anything.
Well, I open it to the floor. I think it's great, but the board doesn't agree. I think it's better, but I shouldn't jump in like that.
Is this the final? Is this presentation over, or you still have more drawings?
I have just architectural drawing just to explain to you what we'll be taking out.
Yeah, we got plans and sections, elevations. Yes.
Yeah, so this is here is a plan. Quickly, this is the original location, and you see the big beam here. We're taking all of this out. This is replaced by this new storefront here. This is the new view from the street of the facade. You can see it's all like pushed back, which I really actually like this little passageway in the back. It creates a little bit kind of a mystical experience. And this is the elevation from inside. You can see it's kind of very rigid and very clean. So it gives a bit more light inside, a little bit more views outside to the street and to the park before we had this big kind of beam here. And in terms of section details, we have a regular stick system with a beautiful revolving door, which has a glass ceiling. So to keep it really light and not create more of a structure there. And also what we're doing here, we're raising the revolving door by a little bit. It was 7'10", now it's 8'10", just to give it a bit more of a grander entry. So this kind of concludes my presentation, but I'm happy to switch to any kind of page you want me to go.
Well, I'm opening it to the committee. Just jump in, anybody.
Thanks, Bruce.
Nobody?
Oh no, I'm looking to raise my hand.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm looking. I can't find it. May I speak?
Of course.
So can you go back the storefront system, right? Or is this a curtain wall? A storefront.
Storefront, yeah.
Yeah. And it's all just going to be aluminum. Now, you used the word anodized and bronze, but it is not bronze. It's just aluminum.
Yeah, it's we've been matching the like anodized dark bronze, but it's an aluminum system.
And the life expectancy of that?
I think this aluminum. I think this is definitely like 10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years, Lord.
Well,
itself is over 100, right? Okay. So the center bay, I'm sorry, can you go like on the left? That's an entrance, and what you dashed in there in light gray is a revolving. This is the residential. This is the residential entry, and this is the commercial entry. So you only do 2 bays. We only do 2 bays right now. Yes. Residential is staying as is.
For now, yes. This is financially, the client decided to just upgrade this. We are not.
Because you have a new tenant?
No, it's just it came to, you know, when the pandemic hit, they said, okay, let's do it as soon as possible. So we have not much traffic there in the offices. Like the DMV has a lot of traffic, so they thought it is the right moment to do it. So that's why we got started. And who knew it would take so long that we're in a pandemic? But I think we can, if we get that into construction soon, we can get a lot of stuff done. So that's why they decided to do this now and not the residential.
So too bad, because it's my part-time thing, so this would be the time to do it all.
Exactly. Well, yes, but this is, I mean, I wish we could do both, but right now we really are just, I think it's financially, they really wanted to spend the money for this one right now. And
As long as Vicky brings it up, can we see the actual site condition with the residential entrance right now? Can I see that? Can we see that?
yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
this is the residential and this is, I'm sorry, it's a little bit small, but you can see it's both set back and it's, you know, it's very hard to see. And right now you can see it's just like the dark bronze. This is the, there's some stainless steel, there's a bronze. And we're trying to now at least a big portion of it to get back to the historical reference. Precedence.
Do you have a direct board that has a before and after, like existing and proposed?
Well, this, yeah, I only have this year for the proposed as a rendered, and then I have these line drawings right now. But I could, I can send you anything else.
I would have just thought that would be most helpful, you know, existing and proposed, so we can tell. So the center bay is actually staying in the same configuration as before, or you're doing, what is this, 4/4 with a
yeah, that this is, yeah, what we're doing is this. We're just creating, the same kind of rhythm. We looked at the historic photos and it has like the real kind of millions, and really getting rid of this big beam really makes this a much nicer kind of window and gets back to more historic precedence.
How did you get rid of the beam? That wasn't a structural beam?
It was not, no, which is very interesting. It was not. It was a leftover probably from something else, and had some very interesting connections. And we had a structural engineer opening up and they said, we can take that out.
Right, and so the window proportions in the center bay are, how big are each pane?
It's about 5 feet, 4 foot and 11.
Each
5
bay?
feet. Yes.
I obviously like better the side bays. The center bay is too big. 5 feet is as tall as, you know, taller than I am. It's a gigantic opening. Wouldn't it be better if we had smaller mullions, you know, smaller panes of glass that was more conducive to both the rustication? You know, it's totally out of scale.
Yeah, I looked at the historic ones, and they had, these was a little, they were a very big one in the middle, and then a smaller one on the sides.
That's right.
We can play a bit with that. I just wanted to keep it very simple and clean, so symmetrical when it comes in here, and give back to the views from inside to the outside too.
Yeah, no,
so
the view outside is the most important thing. I mean, looking at this building is the most important thing. Looking out of this building is a whole other story. And because the side bays are much smaller in scale, it really amplifies the center. And that is my concern. This has to be more in keeping with the overall reading of this early 20th century facade. That's my comment, please. Oh, okay. Wait, I want to ask, are these true mullions, or are you just applying metal to glass?
What do you mean with true mullion? It's true mullion. It's not, yeah, it is.
It is not applied mullion. It's all
no.
Two separate pieces of glass. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's
And
yeah,
what-
definitely, absolutely. It needs to be. It needs to be. Yeah, especially because of the wind loads too.
Right, I know, but owners tend to ask for things that are sometimes not helpful to the overall look. So. Yeah, no, that's, it's too big, too big.
Thank you, Vicky. Anyone else? Okay, then, this.
Sorry, Bruce,
Sorry,
can I just-
sorry, go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, I understand the financial focus to work on the DMV section while it's quiet at the DMV, but I would suggest that we include in the resolution that we would like to create a master plan such that when the residential building can be upgraded, that it's upgraded, you know, in accordance with what we want.
Okay, adding that. So, anyone else?
Please. No, I agree with Roger, absolutely. I just,
A master plan for signage as well. Right?
yeah.
Bruce, I'll write this resolution for you.
I just want to go over what we have and see if we all agree. I personally, and I don't know the applicant, I don't know the architect, I do know this building very, very well. I've been in offices there, I've been outside, inside. It's a hugely important building when looking north from anywhere on the bay or it's major, but I think it's a rather good job. It's much better than what is there now. If the applicant is not going to do the residential bay now, I would not want to prevent them from doing this improvement because what's there now is awful and this is not bad. I would add that we would like a master plan that would include signage and what would be done to the rest of the West Bay when it would be done. We also would like them to look at the proportions of the framing of the center bay, which could be more sophisticated and in keeping with the age of the building. That all being said, those would be caveats. I would approve this application, but it's up to the committee. Since I don't hear any more voices, I guess we could take a vote, and if
You mean to approve it with these conditions?
those caveats, yes, with with what Roger said, with what you added in terms of proportionality on the center bay.
And that they come back with a master plan,
Yeah.
all of that.
Wait, if they come back with a master plan prior to their LPC hearing?
No, but when they,
Right, we'll do it.
I think it's important.
And when is the LPC, Alexandra, when is the LPC hearing?
The end of the month or beginning of February, 2nd.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that's what I have all written down. Shall we take a vote, Jennifer?
Can I just add one? I have one question, Bruce,
Yes.
to the architect. So in this rendering, the center bay, what you're seeing breaking up 5.5-foot pieces of glass is actually an elevation way beyond in the interior of the space.
Correct. That's why I think that that drawing you looked at before is a little bit misleading because it doesn't show the depth. This facade, this storefront is set back 4 feet behind the facade.
No, but what I'm saying is that when you put these lines, what is behind it, it makes it look like it's broken into smaller pieces.
Is everyone muted except Vicky because the feedback is tremendous?
I don't have any feedback. There's nothing here. Yeah. Someone else. So I'm saying that the center bay, the panes of glass are very large, and I want everyone to understand that it's a visual trick here for me. When you see the lines behind it, they're actually way behind, and you wouldn't see that. You would just see the mullions, which, as you can tell, are much larger in size or the panes of glass than on either side, which is disturbing. And then I don't understand the space above the door. Why are you keeping those two large verticals that are so out of scale with the lower ones now that you made smaller? No, Alexandra, you
Alexandra, you're muted.
Yeah, just jump
Sorry.
in and unmute yourself when you're speaking.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And which vertical lines do you refer to, please?
The outside bays above the doors. Now I'm too tired to remember. Half the eyebrow windows. That's it. Why do
This
you
one.
have? Yeah, the eyebrow windows, both at the resi entrance and this one.
Yeah.
Why such heavy?
This is existing, and it's not even part of our space. I agree. This is very heavy, but it's nothing. It's not in our scope at all. We're not touching anything. Which is none of these windows we are touching.
Right. So the owner is not having an overall vision for the entrance.
I can hear. This is here just like the view of the existing. You can see there's. I think it's an office or something behind, and this is probably it's on a higher floor above the lobby.
So what I would say is it's too bad the owner is not considering this very important building as, you know, an overall renovation so that it's not done in hodgepodge piecemeal again.
So I think, Vicky, that's why we should stay in. We look forward to a master plan which makes coherence of all three bays.
And then make them stick to it. You know?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, so again, I'll repeat that we're giving an approval with the caveat that there is concern about the proportionality of the framing and the window sizes in the center bay, and we would like a master plan. So, Jennifer, do you want to take a vote unless there's more comments?
Can I just see before we take any vote if the calling number I see on the attendance list is by any chance one of our committee members? I'm gonna unmute them and ask them if they can identify themselves. Hi, whoever's the calling number, can you please identify yourself?
Hi, it's Eileen Vahey from the Moynihan Group. I'm the property manager for 17 Battery Place.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Bruce, we don't have quorum, so this resolution would have to go before the executive committee. We're short on one person. Oh, Bruce, you're on mute.
Well, is interesting. It's the tin building, and we can't vote on that either if it's no quorum. Isn't that so?
Right, unless someone joins.
Yeah.
Can someone call Jason and see if he could join us?
I will do that right now. I'm going to put us on mute for a minute. Everybody just hold.
Thank you.
Thank
Talk. I'll be on mute. Jennifer,
Yes.
I'm in a bad reception zone. I'm going to try my landline. Here. Oh, no, it's not. So he might not recognize the number and may not pick up. Could you call Jason on his cell?
Yeah, no worries. I'm contacting.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead with this, Bruce, because you know, this is as significant as the next issue, and we'll hopefully get a quorum for the next issue.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Shall I stop sharing or?
Jason, it's Bruce.
Bruce
Jason is coming on, but go ahead.
just joined us.
I'm sorry?
Mark and Marisa just joined, but since he
Okay.
joined, I'm not sure if he'd be allowed to have
Right,
a.
at this point,
So
I don't want to run
let's
through
go
the
without
entire application.
Bruce. Let's go without a quorum on this, and Mark can look at it later because this isn't so complex. But now we've got a quorum for the next.
Right, exactly.
Much
Okay,
more.
so Jennifer, please take the
I was
vote
late.
of what we had anyway, so we know that there's a positive outcome. Is that okay? Can you do that, or aren't we allowed to do that anymore?
Sure. Do you want me to go ahead with the roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Can a member of the floor ask a question and someone else please second?
Am I allowed to call the question?
Here, I call the question.
I second.
Thank you. Bruce,
Yes.
Jason's not here. Mark,
I just have to vote present, right?
Yes, that's good. At least they'll show a quorum.
Right. Okay.
right. Okay.
Thank you.
Vicky,
Vicky Cameron, yes, with caveats that we discussed.
Susan,
Same as Vicky, yes.
Eric's not here. Elizabeth,
Yes.
Megan's not here. Vera
Yes.
and Roger.
Yes, and I think in the request for a master plan, I think we should say we'd like to see that back within the next 3 months, so that Alexandra can draw that up and we can approve that, but not hold it up.
Fine with me.
But we can, this means a master plan can happen before we go to the next hearing, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. Come back within 3 months, Alexandra.
Thanks.
Yeah, Alexander, so the hearing in February is not contingent upon the master plan that we're asking for from you within the next 3 months.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we done, Jennifer?
Yes, I have my vote.
Okay, so the resolution passes. Thank you very much, Alexandra. And our next,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
thank you. Our next applicant is the Tin Building, 95 Marginal, aka 96 South Street, and it's an application for installation of exterior signage. Jennifer, do you want to introduce the speakers?
Sure, we have George, and apologies if I mispronounced your last name, George Gianquinto,
Gianquinto, right?
as well as Whitley Esteban. Whenever you guys are ready to speak, and I'll pass over the screen sharing controls over to you, George, or Whitley.
Over to me first, please.
Sure.
And, is that George? George, are you with Roman and Williams?
No, I'm with Howard Hughes.
And is Roman and Williams here as well?
Yes,
Hi, Bruce.
Roman
I'm
Williams.
Whitley with Roman Williams.
Okay. I want to say that I have no skin in this game whatsoever, with no financial interest. I'm not allied with Howard Hughes Corporation, as with many of us in many hearings, because we're adjacent to various architectural issues. I do know the designers, Robin Standifer and Stephen Alish. So for what it's worth, I'm just declaring that. Okay, go ahead.
This is Jason.
Okay.
Do you want me to do this resolution?
You can, if you want.
Jason.
Yeah, there's no conflict here, but go ahead. We'll work on it together, or you can do it. Yes,
Okay.
So can you guys see the screen now?
yes.
Okay, so we're here this evening to present the exterior signage package for the Tin Building. When the original certificate of appropriateness was issued back in 2016, signage was considered a placeholder at the time, so we had always anticipated going back to LPC with the signage package. We met with staff a few weeks ago. The staff has indicated we would need a public meeting, so we are here for a resolution and our public meeting at the moment is scheduled for February 9th. It's been a while since we've been in front of this committee. I think June 2018 was the last time I was in front of you guys with the tin building. We discussed our salvage program at the time. So I thought just before we get to the signage package, I'd run through a very quick construction update for you guys and just take you through where we are on the project. So here's the west facade. The facade in general is about 95% complete. You can see all the corrugated metal is in place. The pilasters are completed. The pediments are about 90% done. There are stamped metal pieces that will be installed between now and the end of February there, and then we would complete the cornice and the remainder of the front. You also see the ramp, the forming of the ramp that takes you up to the entry of the tin building. That ramp was required, obviously, because we raised the building up out of the flood zone. Backing up a little west, you see the seat steps have been formed on the south side of the lobby. Now, these seat steps, the treads of these seat steps are clad in wood. It's similar to the seat steps you see on the South Plaza, just south of this area here. You also see the earthwork being done, the fill being done for the continuation of the esplanade that'll meet south of here at Pier 17 and then go north, just north of the building. You can see in the inset over here where my cursor is. Moving a little east, these are the stairs and the ramp being formed for the tin building. Again, these were necessitated because of the lifting of the building out of the flood zone. That concrete will be poured hopefully over the next couple of weeks. Getting to the top of the drive and looking west, this is what we call the South Plaza. Again, if you look at the cursor on the inset, it's the north side of the access drive, walkway that will lead you up to the pier and to the pier building and the east side of the tin building. Looking at the east facade is fairly complete. I think there's a few more hat channels and enfragements that need to be placed in the windows. We had just completed the transoms over the loading dock doors, and we should be wrapping up the rest of the corrugated at that area. There's a view, again, looking west, but on the north side of the access drive, we've now made substantial progress on that north side of the access drive. Is when the project is complete and the fence comes down, this will enable us to make the access drive a one-way drive as we had promised. Folks will enter on the south side, obviously, and make their way around and leave on the north side. And then just
when is it scheduled to be completed? How close are we to?
So I'll go through that, Jason.
Okay,
so just last sort of exterior photo, just the north facade, and just completed the glazing in the shed area, the single level space. There'll be some GFRC added to this over the next couple of weeks. As a whole, the exterior work is going to continue through about April this year. All of the site work and exterior facade should be completed right around April. I thought it could be one quick look inside in the single level space. It's the shed, what we call the shed area looking north, and shed space looking south. This fit out work has really just begun over the past month. And we'll continue through the end of the year, looking for a tin building opening late first quarter 2021. With that, Jennifer, how can I get controls over the Whitley?
Before you move off this helpful update, and that's great, thank you, nice to see you. Can you remind us what you were able to salvage from the original plan, and where is that? Because we were
I'll go through that quickly. So there's 19 columns across the colonnade in the front. The what we call the B column line, which is the first real column line of the building. 15 of the 19 columns are salvaged. 4 of the columns were unusable. 3 of them were cracked beyond repair, and 1 had no structural capabilities. All of the trusses that you see here, we had 18 trusses that we were able to repair and salvage. So only 1 truss was not in use. If I go back to the shed area, it's important to note that the cast iron columns had to bear, in the second line, what we call the C column line, had to bear a lot more weight than originally, than they had to originally. And so there's only 5 columns that the structural engineer had approved to be placed in the second column line as structurally capable of holding its position. The rest were replicated. But the beams, 17 of the 19 beams, we were able to salvage and use and repair. So hopefully, Roger, that summarizes it for you. There are also 6 or I believe it's 6 or 8. I got to go back and check columns within the building that are also original columns that we had salvaged.
That's great. That's better than I was expecting you to say, actually, George, because it was a tough time. And where are they being stored, and how are we going to make sure they don't get damaged in any way, shape, or form?
Where is what being stored? I'm sorry.
The original what has not been used, because I know
it's not been used as right now. There's actually, if you remember, there were over 200 pieces that we kept for reference.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is essentially sitting in a warehouse in Long Island at the moment. So I'm actually working with LPC to figure out what the next steps are on that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now
Jennifer, if you could give it to Whitley.
Okay.
I'm actually the screen presentation. Could that be to my colleague?
I'm
Maria?
sorry, to Maria. Yeah.
If that's possible. Excellent. Thank you. Full screen, Maria. Excellent. So thank you, George. Good evening, everyone. My name is Will Vaughn. I'm managing director at Roman & Williams Buildings and Interiors. Just for a brief introduction, we're a New York-based studio founded 19 years ago by our principals and founders, Robin Stanifer and Stephen Alish, who believe are in attendance as panelists or attendees at this meeting here this evening. We work at various scales of design across the globe, and of course here at home in New York. We aim to work sensitively with and within historic context, and of course to work towards its continued vibrancy. From the Ace Hotel to some recent galleries that we renovated at the Met, to our own sister shop and restaurant, La Mercerie and Roman & Williams Guild. Of course, the district and the Tin Building are no exception. For context, Howard Hughes Corporation has tasked us with the interior design of the marketplace at the Tin Building, as well as the exterior signage, specifically of which I'll be taking you through this evening. Next. You're all, of course, familiar with the location of our building and the surrounding environs. Next.
Yes, we are, but I'm going to ask just for a minute to leave up the prior screen for about 15 seconds. We don't need narration. I just want the bird's eye view again. Just for a minute. Okay. Thank you.
Let's go next, Brant. So with this zoomed in site plan here, essentially, I'll be showing some historic context, some historic precedent, and then we'll obviously move to the proposed signage along the facades. We'll start with the west elevation that is adjacent to the FDR and South Street, then move to the south, the east, and the north in that order. Next. I think George's construction photographs are maybe even a more realistic depiction of this, but just to reorient everyone to the exterior renderings that you had seen some years ago. These are produced by Shop, illustrating what the final facade design will be realized as. Next. Next. So the opportunity and the challenge here is to both acknowledge the legacy of the tin building and carry there's certainly, prominent signage and these particular tactics that were employed here next that are part of this deeper history of the building, its use, and next, and certainly have inspired our new proposals for the signage on the building itself. Next. Again, this is going to be more familiar context to everyone here this evening. Next. What follows is really our own exercise in studying appropriate tactics for visuals, for signage throughout the district already in place that we might learn from or adapt as it relates to our proposal for the exterior signage.
Excuse me, I'm going to interject here. I'd like to go through the typologies quickly because this community board voted about 3 months ago because of the endless preamble contextuality shots to get to the proposal first and work backwards according to time. But I will let you proceed chronologically, but let's move through the typology
We'll move quickly. Okay, excellent. Let's go next. So specific tactics here. I don't need to necessarily narrate each of these specific tactics for you all. Some of these beloved institutions that we still have, some no longer. Let's keep going. I think Maria can keep kind of flipping through this relatively quickly. But essentially what we see and what we're inspired by is this particular combination and repetition of these various technologies of signage, from the blade signs that we see prominently, the gold leaf lettering directly on the glass storefront, as well as sort of horizontal building identification signage. This one, let's just rest on this for 5 seconds here, Bruce. Particularly here with the tin building, its legacy, what we think is a distinctly, I think, New York hallmark of mercantile buildings and their signage is signage painted literally on the facade of the building itself. Next. Next. So these diagrams that follow, we'll move very quickly through these. These are really indications of the zones and the categories or typologies of the signage that we're proposing, just to keep ourselves organized. So just moving from in the order of west to south to east to north. This is consistent with the submission you had seen prior in terms of general locations and zones that the signage will be located within. Okay, so now to some of these specific tactics that aren't necessarily specific to the district, but are in line with the specific tactics that we're proposing and we later illustrate here in terms of proposed exterior signage. So again, this painted graphic, these are contemporary examples. There's multiple examples here that are within the district and from New York City. We're also, because of the offerings of the marketplace itself, there's examples and there's inspiration points that we found that are from a broader reach than just New York. But we've worked hard to define some things and some tactics specifically. And Ray, let's just rest on these. We don't need to flip necessarily so quickly through these. Both location specific, both historic, as well as contemporary applications. So blade signs suspended below a canopy. That's absolutely a tactic that we see in commercial marketplaces, literally here on South Street on the left-hand image, as well as in more contemporary examples, especially because of the approach and I think the varied and multiple sight lines that we have to access our building, to the interior of it. You'll see a variety of signage proposals in the following slides. Next. So again, pretty prevalent throughout the gold leaf lettering directly on the storefront. These are some examples of neon signage, especially with our considerations of evening time and nighttime activity and visibility and navigation for visitors to the building displayed prominently. We're particularly inspired by a sculptural clock-like element that would be self-illuminated as a means as well as of wayfinding and navigation throughout the district, really, and from Pier 17 in particular. Next. And again, we're really inspired by these particular types of signs here, in that we see it as inventive, we see it as a recognizable icon that gets attached to the identification of the building itself and the marketplace that we've created. Next. So just to give you all the context of the brand identity and the building identity that has been established up to this point. There's certainly, in the typography and the iconography that you're seeing here, there's certainly an homage to the history of the seaport and to the Tin Building specifically, commercial, maritime commercial activity that's baked into this logo and to this brand identity, even down to the name itself, which was months and months of several intense, designs and charrettes and development on that front. The team kept coming back to that iconic name of the Tin Building itself, so straightforward in that way. The anchor, the seal logo was developed precisely with this in mind. You'll see how we tied this into signage and these navigation tactics in the slides that follow. And, absolutely the goal was to honor that legacy, but also to push it forward. You see the material palette on the right-hand side that also stays quite consistent and is in coordination with the building facade and the overall design. Next. So these overall elevations really are an overview and a summary of the various tactics we're proposing. I'll drill down into further detail on each of the specific tactics that you see summarized in these elevations. This would be the sort of daytime view. The next. And this is the evening view. This is the west elevation from South Street. You'll have the FDR above you if you're sort of standing looking from this vantage point. And really, these nighttime renderings are a diagram to indicate locations of illumination. Next. So in the top left-hand corner, these key elevations indicate the locations and quantities of this type of sign that we're proposing.
Whitley, can you go back to the prior screen, please? So here, that is the more prominent view looking west. That is a sort of the major facade. Is this the extent of the signage?
No, there's signage proposed along all four facades.
No, but is this the extent of the signage proposed for the western facade?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Next. So for what we're calling the building identification signage, what we're proposing is extruded metal lettering rendered in a powder-coated metal. Again, the sizing parameters and whatnot, we've all taken from the guidelines established by the LPC, and we're well within those parameters. But essentially, our three building identification signs located within each of the three pedimented zones, as you can see in that very small key elevation. So these are extruded metal, solid metal letters that are illuminated as a halo lit application. So that's a soft glow that comes from the back of the letters, but the letters themselves are not illuminated. One of the sort of guiding principles in the signage design here was about wanting to respect the integrity of facade as much as possible. The other alternative to the particular type of signage that we're proposing here would necessitate additional light fixtures or some other means of illuminating these signs that we felt ultimately compromised the simplicity of what's been proposed here. Next. Now along the canopy, we have along the west elevation this singular solid metal seal that's located in the center main entry bay along that top leading edge of the canopy. You've seen how this seal plays into the brand visuals. It is lit in the evenings from a small concealed LED light that's at the leading edge of that canopy, just above that crown profile. Its materiality is consistent with the rest of the palette in a green powder-coated metal. with the raised lettering and indications in a brass. Next. Along the canopy's edge, quite consistently across the length of this long canopy that we have on the west elevation, we've located extruded metal letters, again in brass, like you had seen prior. The exact text and the typography, it will align with the brand identity already established. The exact naming and the venues and the offerings, that's in development as we speak. Again, these letters, like the seal that you just saw, is illuminated from this concealed LED strip, really, at that leading edge of the canopy. And, you know, one thing just to note, just to stay on that one, Maria, the decision to locate these letters here at that top edge of the canopy rather than directly on the fascia, the face, that small panel that's sort of available space, again, is about these lighting considerations and not wanting to mar or compromise either the visibility of the signage or the historic moldings and the character of the edge of that canopy. Next. So directly on the glass of the storefront within each of these bays, these display windows, we've placed gold leaf lettering, as we've indicated here. So what you just saw on the canopy edge communicates some of these broader categories of the merchant offerings. These gold leaf letters will obviously go into a little bit more granular detail about what's on offer at the interior. Next. Neon signage, we've proposed 3 locations along this facade, venue specific. You'll see in that small key elevation, this is an indication of the left-hand side, the furthest left-hand side neon signage proposal. Again, this is mounted at the interior of the space, not actually on the exterior, but it is visible, thus it's included here. Next.
Committee note that the light fixtures were approved previously, and this proposal calls for painting them green, but the fixtures remain as approved.
This is the center bay. These 4 pairs of doors are the primary points of entry to the marketplace, and the sort of overall building signage in neon is the proposal within these 4 bays of the storefront. Next. So finally, along the western facade is our sculptural blade sign, very similar to some of the precedent that we shared earlier. This is our anchor logo that really is our sort of riff and play on T and B of the 10 building. It's mounted physically onto the north and south face of the facade, but is oriented to be visible from the west. Those overall dimensions are consistent with what was previously presented as well. So again, an overview of the south facade. These key elevations, just to in the upper left-hand corner, do indicate locations. They also indicate the total square footage of the signage, which is well within what's allowable, but it's totaled here on these overview sheets. Next. Our nighttime diagram. It's just worth noting here in these illumination diagrams, the illumination from the windows on the first and second floors is simply the interior lighting of the marketplace from within. We've worked closely with L'Observatoire, the lighting designers present, I think, at this meeting today, again, to reduce as much as possible any interventions onto the facade of the building to illuminate the signs, but obviously still wanting to provide that visibility in the evening.
And what is the height of the, I guess that's we're looking at the west side, the west extension. What is the height of those tin building letters?
Those are, can we flip back? We may need to flip forward to those, Maria.
Well, they're there. Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah, the actual letters themselves, Bruce?
Yes.
Were 1 foot 4 inches.
Okay. 16 inches. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let's go next, Maria. Next. Yeah, 1 foot 4 right here. Again, pretty much exactly the same tactic that you had seen prior along the western edge of the canopy. The one distinction here is that these particular signs are to indicate the overall building identity. We do anticipate, because of the siding, because of the overall master plan, that a significant amount of foot traffic is going to be coming to the building from this side approach. Thus the orientation of the signage here. Next. So suspended below the canopy itself and in alternating bays with the light fixtures that were already referenced are hanging metal blade signs, double-sided, again working within the same palette of a green powder-coated metal with brass graphics themselves. These would be lit from small technical LED projector lights mounted discreetly within some of the structure that you see of the supporting brackets. And this is really about the visibility from that side approach, as I had mentioned. Next. There's one bay along the south facade of display windows and storefront. Again, the same motif of gold leaf lettering, and the seal below repeats itself. Next. Probably the most prominent sign along this southern facade is our overall building identification sign. This is the same seal that you've seen painted directly onto the corrugated surface of the building itself. Next. Access doors, also receiving, the painted gold leaf graphic tactic explained earlier. Next. So this is visible on the south facade. It's mounted onto the eastern canopy. There are two smaller canopies along the eastern facade. This is an indication of the interior lobby area within. We've agreed with SHPO to pay homage to the building's historical use at this particular interior space. The world itself is a placeholder, but we will have a sign to indicate and highlight this area.
And that was in it. I'm sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Roger.
Just going back to the overall logo painted on the tin building itself, could you give the dimensions of that? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see them. What are they?
15, they're small, so no problem at all. They're 15 foot 5 inches wide, 17 feet 3 inches tall.
And what's the height of the corrugated elevation that sits on?
I don't know that figure precisely.
Approximately?
It should be. Maria, can you go back to the overall elevations? I can guesstimate pretty accurately from this.
Right.
It looks to be about 32 feet.
Okay,
And
thank you.
The word is escaping me, but the medallion, the circumference, the exterior, where they intervene with the windows, is that paint or is that raised?
That's painted on the window itself.
Windows. Okay, thank you.
Next.
Yeah, I was asking about SHPO. They wanted a sign indicating what you have as museum, but maybe something else. Is that who they wanted a sign there? Is that what you said?
Yes. Some
Okay.
indication or highlighting of what's within.
Okay.
The exact text, what exactly that will say, that's in development, but yes, to be highlighted with signage. Let's go next. So along that eastern long elevation, another overview of the tactics here. The canopies obviously are secondary on this facade relative to the west facade. Next. Another illumination diagram. The next. So along the eastern facade, we have two proposed locations of this overall building identification signage. Again, the 1 foot 6 inch dimension that you see there is the allowable size for that, which fits pretty tidily between the two bands of windows that are visible here. Next. The seal logo that you'd seen prior in one location on the west elevation finds itself in 3 locations along the east. So these 3 seals are lit from a small concealed LED actually at the base of that seal or that medallion itself. Next. At the southeastern facade, This is our clock-like sculptural sign. This would be the one self-illuminated sign typology we've proposed out of the breadth of the exterior signs, exclusive of the neon. Again, this is a repeat of that seal logo, and again, just like this beloved clock reference for us, a point of meeting, meet you at the clock, meet you at that seal light. We find this to be a really kind of romantic, beautiful idea. Next. Again, this is along so there'd be two signs for the museum or whatever it is it's called. Same tactic, same strategy for the lighting itself, for the lighting and for the sign itself. Next. One neon sign is proposed for the entirety of the east elevation. Again, it's located at the interior of the space. It's proposed for a specific venue where the offering has an open window, a Dutch door style opening that's directly accessed from the exterior. Patrons can walk right up. So especially for our desire to orient visitors and make that more visible and more clear, we're proposing this illuminated signage to communicate this. Next. Finally, along the north elevation, this is an overview summary indicating these locations. Very similar south elevation, though the seal itself is a bit of a distillation. Edited that down, so there's a hierarchy across these facades. Next. Our nighttime version. Next. So south elevation has a larger seal logo. It's been reduced to the simplicity of the T and B anchor logo. Again, painted directly on the facade itself. This one does not overlap with any of the trim or the windows themselves in the same brand palette coloration. Next. Additional access doors receiving that same painted gold leaf tactic that you've seen. Next. Further applications on the north elevation of this sign, the signage at the top of the canopy to indicate to visitors what's within. Next. More of the similar tactics that you've seen with the gold leaf lettering along that one bay of display windows on the north facade. Next. And this is the northern side of the long canopy on the western facade. Again, these letters are indicating on the side elevation what the same signage along the long elevation of that canopy is communicating. Next. So of course, as these are two-sided blade signs, you also would see these from the north elevation, again, interspersed throughout each bay. These hanging sort of ceiling-mounted blade signs are suspended from the canopy above. That concludes the exterior signage at the Tin Building. Thank
you.
Bruce, could I just ask Whitley a question?
Of course, let's go around.
Whitney, I thought that was an excellent presentation, and I think you've designed a very nice brand for the Tin Building. One question and an observation. Where are you with LPC on this? I mean, normally a lot of this would have been staff level. Can you give us a little bit of color around why so much of this is being presented to us as at a higher level than would normally be the case?
So Roger, if you don't mind, I'll take that. So we met with staff. We've gone through it, and staff felt because originally in the presentation they showed the west facade signs as painted, and we were showing halo lit letters. They thought that they couldn't. That went beyond what they could approve at staff level.
Okay, that's helpful, George. But I want to. Well, then that only reinforces my observation. I mean, I know technology's moved along a long time since George and I, last saw each other 5 years ago. I just want to commend you. I think if it's as true as you're presenting that all these LED lights and these halo lighting are non-observable to the general public, I think you've done an amazing job. My only comment would be, I think for some of the sizing of the larger logo, the TB, you know, might look even more sophisticated, being a little bit smaller. Not necessarily on that large elevation, but on the doors. You know, to fill up the entire door, it's a little, you know, maybe looks a little bit more European if you reduce it down a little bit. But I think I have to say, Bruce, I think it's an excellent proposal.
And Roger, just to answer your question, Whitley was close. It's about 46 feet or so, the elevation of the south elevation is 46 feet.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No,
So-
sorry, 32 to the top of the sign.
That's correct. 32 to the top of the sign. You're right. Yes.
Whitley was right. Come on, George, give her a break.
Oh, I thought you were asking about
Thursday night, George.
I thought you were asking about the full.
Be talking for 25 minutes, George.
No, you did a great job.
She did do a great job.
Thank you.
I'm going to give a bit of a step winder. Stop me if it goes on too long, and we'll go around the table. I think it was regardless of what was presented, it was a very good presentation. Thank you, Whitley. I can say that, unlike, for instance, SOM or something, this is not an inheritance shop. This is the principles are still the mindset behind Roman and Williams. They have a historicist bent, which is perfect for this program. I also know that if when something is approved, if it's value engineered out and not as they designed and approved, they get pretty upset, more than most. So what is designed, you know, assuming it's approved or not, what is designed, we can assume will be as approved and as designed. I think you know, in keeping with their trend, I think the signage, the typologies are very good. I'm sure they've discussed this to within an inch of their lives. I find TB as a logo in a pandemic a body punch. I don't know why we would use TB as a logo, like I said, in a pandemic that's not going away, but that's your business. Calling the tin building over and over again is like saying, I don't know, the pillow granite building or the masonry building. It's very literal, but we're not here to parse grammar or language or emblems. I think the lighting is a bit much. There seem to be a lot of hanging and blade signs, but overall, I think it's a very good job. And just in the microcosm, I actually think the painted green previously approved light fixtures are better than what was presented originally. I like that element. So I'm done. Let's go around. I'll mute myself. Mira, Vicky,
Jason here.
Jason.
Okay, Jason here. I agree with Roger's comments, especially about the. I'd like to see that door signage reduced because I just think it's too much and doesn't really play into the hierarchy. Just a random question. A building like this feels to me like it wants to have like some flags on it. Are there any flags or anything? Like even just city flags, American flags? Like, I'm just wondering. And then I just wondered, like, what, you know, I see you put like you know, the side entrance, that kind of half door with the, you know, where someone might roll up and buy some ice cream. But like, do we think that this kind of part of the signage package is going to be easily like pivotable? Meaning, like, who the hell knows if you're going to get an ice cream shop there? I mean, you know, especially in this climate and stuff. If you don't find a suitor for this like side door thing, is there another plan that involves re-signaging it or anything like that?
So to answer the question, the first question, Jason, about the flags, we don't have any flags here, part of our exterior signage proposal. Whether or not, George, there's anything I'm unaware of,
No.
you may chime in. But with the neon, it's the neon signage, Jason, that you're inquiring about on the eastern facade?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, which I see totally appropriate as you described, you know, I could totally see someone, you know, doing that half door and picking up a thing, but I just wonder what happens when you don't find a tenant for those type of things and, you know, you don't get a chance to use it, I guess. I mean, you're not going to just put up a sign until you have a tenant, right? So I guess a lot of this depends on tenanting the space, right? And so
Mhm.
so I'm just wondering if, and there's nothing wrong with this, but because I agree the presentation's great. I think it's a great building. What you've done there to rebuild that building is fantastic. It looks amazing today. But let's say it's slow to get people in the building. Will we just kind of see like maybe you normally do in this type of building, although there aren't this many types of buildings in the city, a slow adaptation of each store's signage onto your building as it gets tenanted?
George, do you maybe want to speak to the operations?
Can you hear me? This is Saul.
Hi, Saul.
Hey, Saul.
Hi, Saul.
Everyone. Hello, committee. I think what I would say is that John George and his team have literally been scouring the world, from coffee purveyors to candy to ice cream to Mexico. They were down in Mexico looking at taco purveyors. So I think, from my understanding, they have found a candy purveyor, and this particular window, I believe, is going to solely be, Jason, for the summer for takeout ice cream. There's right behind here is an ice cream counter, and the idea is that when the building is closed, it could stay open a little bit later, and if people wanted to walk up and get ice cream, sort of like, I guess, the old days, how people used to do that.
I love it. I love it. I really think you guys did a great job. So,
and I would just add to that, Jason. I think neon. We had this big debate over at Governor's Island about the use of neon, but when you drive past the Odeon right now, it is very comforting to see cafeteria up there and some warm connection with an earlier time of Tribeca's life, and I think this is really appropriate for this location. I know we struggled over at Governor's Island, but I just think the warmth of neon is a very nice thing. It's on the inside, and I think that it will be an interesting thing for users to enjoy and for us all to look back and say, gosh, it was great that we took a bit of a bold step of allowing neon for once in a while.
Agree. I actually really appreciate some of those slides that you guys showed of the restaurants that used to have like an anchor outside of them or the wheel of a ship, because they really did exist up until almost Sandy. I feel like a lot of them blew off, but there were these amazing little kind of special signs that weren't exactly blade signs, but probably what blade signs ultimately derived from over the years. So again, I think it's a really strong work that you guys have actually physically completed there, and I really appreciate and can get right behind a positive resolution for the proposal as presented.
Thank you.
Are you still there, Bruce?
I think he may be muted.
Oh, I was just saying I agree with Roger and Jason that in terms of Governor's Island, those were anything but industrial buildings. Quite the contrary. This was an industrial building, and I do think that in this sort of measured case, measured number of the neon, it works with the industrial design of the building.
you please put the rendering of the night shots? It doesn't matter whether it's west, east, whatever facade. No, I like it sideways, excuse me, a 3D, perspective. Well, you don't have any.
We don't have any night renderings, the 3D.
It's lovely, the presentation is, it looks easy and it was, seamless, but all good things, take time, and when they're well done, they look easy. Thank you for this. It looks great. As a resident, I look forward to going here. And I thank Howard Hughes for making, such a great team. I really like the night shots, especially the baglow letters. That whole look is going to be, really nice feel as you're driving by on FDR. And if I could just ask maybe for 7% reduction in signage, because, it's repetitive. How many times can we tell? Otherwise, I find the whole thing incredibly well done and tasteful. Thank you.
Susan, Liz,
Yeah,
Mark?
I want to say I agree with everybody. I agree with the signage and the reduction, but I'd like to say, Whitley, you did a fabulous presentation. It was really terrific. Kudos to you. And it's really, it's wonderful. And I can get behind it with the few little criticisms that have been raised.
Well, thank you.
Am I Miss Liz? I'm sorry.
Yes, Liz, I just, again, echo everyone else's sentiment. I think it's a beautiful job. I'm looking forward to seeing it in completion. It really looks terrific. So thank you.
Is there anyone on the committee that I missed, or is there anyone in the, audience who wants to comment?
What about Mark, what about you, Mark?
Bruce, can I interrupt just a second? I'm sorry.
Generally agree with what you guys said and what Susan said. If there are a few caveats that will be mentioned, otherwise, no major issues. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Jennifer Robin Standifer, who's the principal that Bruce spoke about earlier, has been listening in and wanted to jump in for a minute. You can.
Sure. I'm unable to move them as members, but I've unmuted them so they can speak if they wish to.
Okay, great. Robin?
Let me try muting them. I think. Hi, Robin. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I don't think you can hear me.
Oh, we can now, Robin.
Fantastic.
We can.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to say that thank you, Whitley, for a spectacular and very thoughtful presentation. And I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year and just thank you all for the response. It's an unbelievable honor, having grown up in New York and been at the fish market as a child, to be part of this project. And, Stephen and I and the practice respect so much what you all do. And so this feedback really means a lot to us. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. In response to what Vicky said, especially with this much, with this many discrete elements, yes, the God is in the details, which is, I'm paraphrasing what Vicky was saying. I do think that if this isn't built precisely as designed and spec'd, all hell will break loose. So I think we can be pretty certain that it will be built as designed.
Well, we're building Lily's career here. She's going to see us through.
We're egging it.
Yeah.
I have a question for Sol. I mean, Sol, those of us who live down here, we would love this market to be opened as soon as possible. What can we do to help you get this through? It's a beautiful big market. We can be socially distanced. What can we do to help you?
There's, really, we got delayed. We were, I don't know how, much we shared, but we were the first to stop construction when COVID hit, because we were concerned probably 2 or 3 weeks earlier. And it's really, what we found is just materials. And George, you can speak. Unfortunately, even as recently as we're trying to add a bar into the Fulton for John George, and the people that are building it are supposed to be due in 2 weeks, and they're 4 weeks out because the whole factory got COVID again. So it's unfortunately, we were hoping to open it later this year, but I think the reality is with the finishes that Robin and Steven, which I forget who it was. I think it was Bruce who said you better deliver it the way it is. I can promise you that Robin and Steven don't let us cut a corner. And Whitley without, raising all hell. So the details in here are phenomenal. The focus on every single solitary detail. So really at this point, it's just construction timeline. I mean, unfortunately, we pushed and prodded. The one thing I will say is that, we've debated back and forth about opening the whole thing at once versus piecemeal. I think we have some people on from John George, and unfortunately, from an operational and cost perspective, we just have to open it all at once, and it's just there's nothing we can do.
But why, Paul? I mean, that was my thought. Why can't you open a bay at a time? I mean, why doesn't Jean Georges just open, elements of this while you're completing it?
Yeah, I think primarily because of the mechanic. George, you can explain this, but the kitchen and the mechanicals, and I mean, he could open something sort of as a pop-up, but the reality is to have the fresh fish and to have all the fresh food and the food. There's so many different components to this building that's been designed into it that it's really complicated. I think Lois, who is John George's right-hand person, is on this call, and she might be able to speak to it, but we've gone round and round. It's really challenging to figure out how to open it in part. Also, just the, just how it's licensed with DOH. I'm not sure. I need to get into all the details, but it's complicated how this building is licensed as far as DOH from a food and safety perspective.
Okay, but I would just say before Lois says anything, if she wants to say something, he or she, we're needing this kind of vitality down here in this troubled time. And I think that we should help you in whatever way we can to just revitalize what we're seeing is such a terrible contraction of small businesses in Lower Manhattan. So whatever we can do to help, please let us know.
We are as well. Unfortunately, I mean, our foot traffic is down. I just looked at the people counters 2 or 3 days ago. We're down 70%.
Wow.
People at the seaport. So it gives you a perspective of just the foot traffic that we're not seeing, and obviously all the restaurants and the merchants. It's how it's impacted everyone along South Street and Fulton and for that matter, what's going on in the pier. I mean, unfortunately, it's the reality of where we are, and we're just doing our best to see the spring flowers, and hopefully see a turnaround.
As long as we're going down byways, I am curious, just from a writerly point of view, was the issue of TB in what it also means ever discussed? Saul?
I'd have to add, not to my knowledge, to be honest with you. Lois, Robin, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on.
We hired, just so you guys know, I should say we, Roman and Williams worked with another third party on all of the branding and the naming. And I don't remember a very well-known firm. I don't know, Robin, was that ever discussed in the focus groups?
No, it really wasn't discussed. We were so focused on Tin Building and the big logo that particular identity, Bruce, wasn't sort of, frankly, we were developing this pre-COVID, and we were just focused on that beautiful anchor and sort of health considerations, and that with thinking of the nautical approach to that anchor never really occurred to us at that moment. We weren't really sensitized to it.
Right.
The only thing I can tell you, Bruce, is there were probably 20 names, and in the end, everyone sort of came back to Tin Building, really because of the historic nature of it, and it seemed like not to give it that credit. Seemed wrong, but I mean, there were a million names, and we got it down, and then there were, 6 or 8 different finalists, and in the end, it's what attracted
Your
everybody.
business, and I like tin building as you have it. If I'm just putting out as a citizen, not as a landmarks chair, that the first thing that popped into my mind from the pandemic was tuberculosis, a TB.
Okay, but Bruce,
So
Bruce,
they want to, let me finish, Roger, seriously. With every other detail being the same, if you come up with other initials to replace TB, you may want to. That's all, but it's great, so. Okay, so
I would say, Bruce, in branding, it's so amazing how people interpret things differently, and I think if you look at the sophistication of the anchor and the beat, I'm not sure everybody else is going to go, oh, that was with the pandemic, because it's used the identity of the seaport in a very sophisticated way. So, and we're going to get out of this. So we're not going to be worrying about TV or anything else. So.
Well, okay, okay, I'm putting it out. So I don't hear objection. I mentioned the degree of lighting. There's a lot of signage, but they don't have to be mentioned if it's the sense of the committee that they don't have to be mentioned. I would propose a resolution of approval, and this is a pretty big approval. I mean, the tin building has gone through a lot, and it seems like the final iteration, which is this for us, was worth the effort. But so I'm proposing approval, but we can go around the table if you want caveats one by one. So let's start with Jason, and go to Susan and Liz and so on.
I have a technical question about like the approval. This is technically an amendment to whatever certificate you have now?
Yes, this would be a amended approval of our
To your
certificate of appropriateness.
Okay, so I'm going to say I don't have, except for what that thing about the sign being smaller on those auxiliary doors. I'm done commenting, and I think it's good.
So do you want that called out, Jason?
Why not?
I think so. I think it's just the wrong. I think it actually doesn't show the hierarchy that they're going for, and I think it just should be reduced a little bit so that it's not so, taking up so much of the door. It just takes up a little bit too much of the door. But I wouldn't vote against the whole thing if everybody, doesn't feel that way. I think generally very positive thoughts about the proposal.
Susan?
I happen to agree with Jason, but I'm not going to hang my hat on it.
Vicki?
I'm fine, thank you.
Liz?
Yeah, I'm great with it.
Mark?
Just a mention of the neon that we're approving it, that we're not sitting there, and that there is historical history. There's a history of neon there in the past, and so it comports with this location. Not
point.
Fine, good.
Yeah.
To add that.
I phrased it horribly. Someone else figure out how to phrase it.
So, Jason, you can add that caveat. It's not a negative. That that it's a consideration. And with that, that is yours.
Could I just start something, Bruce?
Yes, Roger. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I think I mean it's a great presentation and it's a great concept and we're going to love going there. I think the sizing thing it's not a big deal, but I do think that reducing it 15-20% might benefit. And as I'm looking at the deck you're showing us right now, Whitley, Bruce does have a point that maybe overemphasizing tin building. And maybe you don't need it 3 times. Maybe you've got more confidence by having it once. But overall, it's great. And Robin, you should be very happy that you were selected to do the work, because we'd all love to work on something as wonderful as that. So, Sol, you picked the best person to do this work, and we're really happy to support it.
Thank you, Roger. That is so sweet. Yeah, it is. I mean, seeing this building sort of revitalized has been just a complete joy. And we're all, I just want to tell you, we all share your wish that it will open soon. And I think, with COVID, we're all, very safely working to get it open. And I really think it's going to energize Lower Manhattan in an extraordinary way. It's very, very dynamic and very big. And there's just so much to do in this building, guys. It's going to be amazing.
Stephen is quieter, but we have to give him some credit too. Anyway, well, do you want to call forth the issue of the quantity of signage, Roger, or not?
No, my point was, as what Whitley's showing, it may not have served them well. I mean, I just think that we're looking at the west elevation. I think there may be a little more confidence in just having the tin building above the main brand mark there in the middle. I don't know that, like you said, Bruce, it's tin building, tin building, tin building. But anyway, I defer to Whitley's design aesthetic.
Okay, if there's
the only other thing I'd point out on this is that, as much as it looks tin building, Roger, the FDR is literally right in front of this building still. And you really won't see that tin building until you're like right up in front of it, because it's even though we moved it back, it's amazing how close it still is.
That's a really good point. You see, Whitley had got it figured out. I just needed you, Sol, to explain it.
Okay, so let's move forward with the vote. Jennifer, you have it. It's a surprising and remarkable approval, with one little caveat regarding the size of the emblem painted on the building, which it's a minor thing. That's the resolution. Someone want to?
I call the question.
Second that.
Thank you. Bruce?
Yes.
Jason?
Jason.
Sorry, Jason. Was that yes?
Yes, Jason.
Thank you. Mark?
Yes, we're going to have that neon language in there too, correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Vicky?
Vicky, yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Eric's not here. Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, yes.
Vera?
Vera, yes.
And Roger?
Yes, great job, Sol, Robin, and Whitley. Congratulations.
Did you say Vera?
Yes.
Vera?
Yes. Vera was here.
Vera, I didn't call upon you because I don't see your. Oh, there you are. I'm so sorry you didn't comment. I didn't mean to overlook you. I'm sorry.
Don't worry. Whatever I wanted to say actually was said. So.
Okay. Sorry, Vera.
That's okay.
Sometimes Zoom is, whatever. Okay. Well, that was a great meeting. Anything else? Anyone else? Anything? Then
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
For now, stay healthy.
You too.
You too.
We don't have one more thing.
I think so.
We don't, Susan. It's just too much questions.
Good.
Right.
Bye. Stay healthy. Thanks so much for your time.
Buddy.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.